This video is going to be about why you should even consider joining the military in the first place. If you're new to this channel, my name is Dave. I'm the military millionaire online. I was a enlisted Marine who spent 13 years active duty in the Marine Corps, and about 7 years in, I realized how much I'd screwed up all my finances, and I went from being broke to being able to exit the military at 31 years of age and not having to take a job for anyone else since, which was 3 years ago. Now, the overwhelming amount of content on my channel is about how to achieve financial freedom while serving in the military, but this video is going to be about why you should even consider joining the military in the first place, because trust me, in 2024, 23, 22, 21, like every year it seems like there are less and less and less reasons, and all the branches of the military are hurting. I mean, shoot, the last 2 years the Marine Corps is the only, I should show off the recruiting ribbon. The Marine Corps is the only branch of service that has actually made their recruiting mission. Yeah, I know, staggering, right? Because everyone talks shit about Marines. But that's beyond the scope of this video. The point of this video is essentially to answer your questions about what are some of the reasons that people do join. You know, recently I made a video on my Instagram where Ryan Serhant, who is the famous multi-million-dollar real estate agent in New York City, said that 95% of people who join the military do so because they have no other options. Frankly, I think that's bullshit and probably falls within the realm of if you didn't do it, you shouldn't talk about it because you really don't know from experience. But I can see why somebody who does multi-million-dollar condo sales in New York City might think that, because let's face it, most billionaires' kids are not running off to join the military now like they did in World War I and II. So, I digress. The point of this video is to just reiterate some of those reasons that I think it is worth joining. Because frankly, I'll still argue to the death of me that the military is the best thing you can do for your future coming out of high school or coming out of college. And I can sum that all up by saying, hey, what other job is going to give you 30 days paid vacation, a 0% down loan option to purchase a house, job skills, training, travel, medical, dental, food paid for, housing paid for, like the works, and afterwards say, you know what, we'll pay for your college to go get your degree. So somebody coming out of the military could get out of the military at 22 years of age, go into college, leave at 26, and by the time they go into college, they're going to go in with no debt, maybe already a house or two or three, a 401k that's already compounding on them, job skills, experience, leadership traits, confidence, a sense of purpose. They'll know who they are, and they're less likely to change degrees a million times in college because they had that 4 years to really figure out who they are and what they want to do with their life, as opposed to the person coming out of high school, goes straight to college. Probably 50-60% of them now change degrees at least once, if not twice, has student loan debt that just bogs them down for decades, doesn't have a house, maybe if they're lucky, but most likely doesn't have a house, doesn't have the intangible leadership skills and confidence and sense of purpose and everything. And that's like the super nutshell. But here's the actual benefits that you guys give a shit about. One of the first reasons that I love the military is job security. Like, seriously guys, if you join the military right now, unless you really, really, really screw up, you've got a job and you're gonna keep that job. Because unless you go out and get a DUI or a felony or something really dumb, which would screw your life up anyway, they're going to keep you in the military. They're not going to just say, hey, you weren't the best fit, goodbye. They'll keep you. You'll do your 4 years. You'll do your 5 years. You'll do your 6 years, whatever your contract is. And I think that's huge because right now, who knows what the economy is going to do, but everybody seems to think it's glum. And one of the things that goes quickly is jobs. So would you rather be in a job where you're Nick the new guy, probably going to get cut, or be in a job where unless you get a DUI, beat your spouse, or get a felony, you're going to keep your job? Because let's face it, you probably don't want to get a DUI, beat your spouse, or get a felony anyway. So why not stick in the job that's going to basically guarantee you the best job security that you can find anywhere in the country? Number 2, education benefits. I already touched on this, but let's face it, student loan debt. Oh my gosh, you cannot turn on the TikTok or news without hearing about student loan debt, repayment, no repayment. Who's paying for it? I paid mine off, they don't deserve it, blah, 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 blah. Who cares about whether or not they deserve it? The reality is student loans are eating people alive right now. Whether you chose them or you didn't know what you were getting into is irrelevant. They're screwing people. And when you come out of the military, you've got the GI Bill. I actually have a $50,000 kicker on my GI Bill because when I joined way back when, I hooked a lot of people up, helped my recruiter out with making mission, And because I was able to help the station and whatever, my recruiter hooked me up. And basically what I was doing is I was helping people study for the ASVAB. And my recruiter helped me out by giving me what's called the Montgomery GI Bill 50K kicker, which I don't even know if that exists anymore. But basically when I go to school, which I'm going to this year to start my pilot's license, and I already have an associate's degree, but I'm gonna go use my GI Bill to get my pilot's license so I can fly around the country in my own little plane at some point in life. They're going to give me full tuition coverage, a housing allowance while I'm going to school, which is whatever the market rent is here, probably be like $1,500 because I live in Missouri. And then they'll also give me $50,000 over the course of that time that I'm in school, which is another like $1,000 a month or so, right? So not a bad gig considering I never really cared about college. Number 3, and I touched on this already as well, healthcare. Now I know everybody makes fun of TRICARE because you get what you pay for and it's free, but let me tell you my story, right? Because I hear the occasional like horror story of people who didn't have a good experience with TRICARE, but the overwhelming majority of people do. Like, take for example, probably the most common reason that the TRICARE and free medical is amazing is you get married to your sweetheart, you guys have a kid, maybe the kid's born early, and you have to spend 8 weeks, 6 weeks in the NICU, which is where infants go before their full term, right? That can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like I have friends who it cost $200,000-$300,000 because they just because the kid came out early. And the military will pay for that. So would you rather have a kid and be $200,000 in debt or have a kid and be like, high five, thank you, woo? Like, that's freaking huge. I mean, medical bills put a lot of people into bankruptcy, right? So that's one example. I didn't personally experience that. My experience is this. I had PRK, which is like a version of LASIK eye surgery. I just wasn't eligible for LASIK, so I got a different version of it, covered by the military. I got a hearing aid after I got blown up. I'm not wearing it right now, but covered by the military. And hearing aids and batteries are very expensive. I had my PCL. I tore my PCL, which everybody knows what your ACL is. PCL is the one that crosses over it. It's actually pretty rare to tear that and not blow your entire knee, but somehow I managed to tear just the PCL, nothing else, and I had that replaced. I have a cadaver, a dead person's PCL in my knee. I feel great. I've run 2 half Ironmans since that. Paid for. I had my appendix almost rupture, and I had an emergency, in the ER, an emergency room appendectomy. Covered. So, okay. I alone have probably had, I had a vasectomy covered by the military too. I don't even know, man. Like, I've probably had $30,000 to $50,000 worth of medical crap covered. I've never had any issues with any of it as far as like healing or whatever. Like, I've never had to go back in for issues. Everything is, at least as far as I'm tracking right now, is a success. So that covered by all the other non-surgical things they covered, normal health stuff, is awesome. Oh, and they even covered my testosterone when I started getting TRT. So that's cool. Oh, and they would cover it now. Oh, and then since I've gotten, we didn't even get into the VA side. I got sleep apnea, so I got a CPAP covered by the VA. I've had TRT covered by the VA. Therapy for both PTSD and divorce counseling covered by the VA. I don't even know. The list goes on and on and on. Like I've probably spent $50,000 to $100,000 worth of medical crap over my life on me that doesn't include like the birth of my son or any of the other crap that's come up in life. My kid breaking his arm, the 4th of July 2 years ago because he jumped off a porch after a Hulk toy that fell off, and all covered. Pretty sweet. Number 4, travel opportunities. Now this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, right? Because there are 2 things here. One, there's, hey dude, you're going to Japan for 2 years. Oh, and Afghanistan. And you may live in Hawaii for 3 years. These are all things that happen to me. Or, hey, we're gonna go to Thailand for a weekend. Happened to me. Or you're gonna stop in Germany for the day on your way home to whatever. Happened to me. Like, all travel opportunities that happen. But the other thing is, not only do we get discounts, and if you fly with any commercial airliner, American, United, Delta, whoever, and you show them your military ID, if there's a way to upgrade you to first class or business class, they will do it for free. You get a free checked bag everywhere you go, sometimes more depending on what kind of orders you're on. You get TSA pre-check the entire time you're in, which is awesome. You get to board the plane first. If you're with American or United or Delta, they always say, hey, people who need help getting down the runway, people with infants, active duty, now boarding group 1. So you get to board before all the group 1 nut jobs and just chill on the plane for a little bit and get settled, which I love. Those are all just like odd perks. But on top of all that, You also get the opportunity to do Space A. Now, I've got a full video on this that talks about what Space A is and how to use it. Admittedly, it's not always the most convenient thing in the world, but essentially it means you can catch a free flight on a military plane as long as they've got empty seats from wherever you are to wherever you need to go or close to it based on their routes. Not perfect, but it's free, and I like free. Number 5, training and skills development, right? So talked about this at the beginning, but essentially, like, you're going to go to a job school, whatever job you choose in the military, and every branch does that differently. Some branches are like, you can choose your specific job and we guarantee it even if we don't know what your ASVAB is. Some branches are like, hey, we'll let you pick an occupational field, and then depending on how your scores are and what the needs of the military are, we'll put you in that job. Some are like, hey, you can try out for special forces. If you make it, great, and if you don't, we're going to put you wherever we want. So that varies branch to branch. But let's say you pick a job, you're like, I want to be air traffic control, you pass, they send you to air traffic control school, you are now in a really high paying job field in the civilian world, getting trained for free, getting experience for free, learning that skill. When you get out, you're gonna be able to walk into a job that pays you a killing, or you can decide I didn't like that and go do something else with your free college. You know, there's tons of incredible jobs in the military. I've got entire videos on this. We've got medical fields, we've got pilots, we've got cyber, we've got electricians and welders and truck drivers and whatever. We've got air traffic control. I mean, you name it. Anything you can do in the civilian world for the most part. We've got the Air Force even has flight attendants. Who knew? I didn't. That's recent. So the other thing there is you can do secondary things. So like, I kind of joked, I showed you for whatever reason, I put a recruiting ribbon on my 3rd Marine Regiment mug, but I was a recruiter for 3 years. I learned how to speak in public. I learned how to network. I learned a lot of valuable skills that helped me raise capital for real estate deals. Now, you could go be an embassy guard in the Marine Corps and work in international embassies and be in the, Secretary of State world. You've got all kinds of secondary jobs and advanced schools. Like if you're an armorer in the Marine Corps, there's a school where you can go to where they teach you how to build from scratch a sniper rifle. And then you get out, I've got friends who did this, and they now run custom gunsmithing shops. So like all kinds of opportunities where you can test out jobs you like, you can change jobs while you're in, it's great. Go number 6, retirement benefits. Now, I'm not gonna touch on the difference between the BRS and the not the BRS because everybody gets confused on that, and that's not the scope of this video. That's the blended retirement system that changed in 2020 for those listening. All of you will fall into the blended retirement system, the new system, which means if you make it all the way to 20 years or 30 years, you're gonna get paid for the rest of your life based on a portion of your last 3, basically they take your last 3 years you were in the service, they average out that pay, and they'll pay you a portion of that based on how many years you served in what capacity. So depending on if you were active the whole time, reserved the whole time, did 20 years, did 30 years, it's a sliding scale, but anywhere from roughly 40% of your current pay to damn near 100%, depending on that scale. But that's not including disability pay and all that other stuff. That's just your retirement pension, right? So you get 40% of your pay for life or whatever. So you get all that pay and you don't have to work anymore. And you could be retired at 40 years old, 50 years old, right? Whatever. And that's pretty sweet. You can go take another job or you can just be done. But that is awesome. On top of that, you're gonna get VA benefits, you'll get VA disability, making sure I don't cover that later. So yeah, we'll talk about that. VA disability, depending on what you did in the service, if you got hurt, you can get a pretty substantial chunk of money for whatever issues. So I'm a 100% permanent and total disability from the military, and I get a pretty solid chunk of change every month, tax exempt, on top of what would have been my retirement if I'd stayed all the way to 20 years. And that's awesome. So there's opportunities in there for the retirement, the benefits, the VA, so you'll get healthcare afterwards, you get some of the travel benefits afterwards. There's a whole myriad, depending on what state you're in. Some of them allow property tax exemptions for veterans, and so you can be 100%, you pay 0 property tax in Texas, which is an expensive property tax state. Lots of additional benefits there, but pretty sweet gig. Number 7, you're gonna have to get that discipline and structure right. A lot of us coming out of high school have no idea what we wanna do. You don't have any discipline, you don't have any structure, maybe you didn't even have a structured household. Maybe you did play sports and you have some, maybe you didn't. Maybe you were in music and you have some and you didn't. Whatever, different walks of life, but this will really help you with the discipline, the structure, the routine, waking up, getting into a flow, being a productive person during the day and making the most of what you are experiencing day to day in your life, right? This is something that these intangibles, like the discipline, the structure, there's a whole bunch of videos I've done on this. These are what I think really set service members and vets apart for either getting hired in really well-paying corporate jobs, or being business owners, or being investors, or being entrepreneurs. Like, there are some vets out there just crushing it. And I think it's because of this. Let's go with number 8 here, camaraderie, right? Service members and vets have a unique bond. So anywhere you go, you'll be able to connect with vets. That's actually why, like, we have the free Military Millionaire community and the Facebook group and the Instagram and the YouTube and all that stuff. But we have a higher tier for those who are serious about achieving financial freedom called the War Room. And one of the reasons the War Room does so well is because I only allow service members and vets into the group. And so right off the bat, you've got this unique connection with everybody in the group, and they're all studs. They're all gonna take responsibility for their actions and be accountable and want to help you achieve your goals as much as help themselves achieve their goals. And it's a really cool, unique community. I've been in a lot of mastermind groups, and that military brotherhood bond is something that we have that no other community can cultivate. Like, our culture starts off strong because of that, and I love that. But even outside of that, you've got, veterans groups all across the country, all across the world. You've got veteran communities, veteran networking. I mean, there are opportunities in the military and out of the military to build that community, that camaraderie, that bond, and really help yourself get a leg up. As they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and this military edge will help you in just about everything you do in life. Number 9, we've got serving your country, right? And I know that's like cliche, but I'll tell you this, as a man, if you don't have a sense of purpose in your life, you're dying, right? Like, that sounds harsh, but if you're just flip-flopping around the world, not knowing what you want to do, like, that will slowly eat away at you. Now, sure, it's true as a woman as well, but as a man, without purpose, you dwindle and die. Like, you have to have some kind of purpose in your life. And at a really early age, the military gives you that. You have a sense of purpose that still, for me, is very hard to match. And unfortunately, that actually causes some issues when you get out of the military, because you have to go find a new purpose and you have to find your new identity and whatever. But it'll teach you the importance of that. It'll give you a grounding. It'll help you see why those things are important, give you that sense of purpose. That's why so many people stay in the military. It's the sense of purpose. It's not everything else. A lot of people, that's what it is. And I loved that. I got out and it was hard to find something that was, as much of a purpose for me as that. Helping veterans achieve financial freedom is there. It's not the same as what I felt in Afghanistan. It's a totally different thing. It's amazing, but it's a totally different thing. And so having that sense of purpose is huge, especially early on as a young man or woman in the country. Number 10 is career advancement. What I mean here is this. The military is a meritocracy. If you do well, you will get promoted. You will exceed. If you run faster than everyone else, if you shoot better than everyone else, if you outperform everyone else, if you volunteer for everything, if you're the go-to guy, if you know everything about your job, you will get promoted faster, which means you'll get paid more earlier. And I loved that, because in a lot of jobs, it's either more political or like, I guess that's probably the best way to word it, or there's all these oddities that go on. In the military, if you're better than everyone, and maybe not just a total dickhead, you're gonna get promoted faster than them. Take me for example, right? I was promoted to E2 when I joined because I was an Eagle Scout, so they acknowledged, hey, he did all this stuff, we're gonna give him a promotion right off the bat. And then I got promoted to E3 pretty quickly, like as soon, on the first day I was eligible. I got promoted to corporal on the first day I was eligible because I completed all my stuff, was in shape, did all the things. I got meritorious sergeant, so I actually got promoted to E5 in a year and 2 months after I got promoted to E4, which I was a motor transport guy in like the early 2015, this was probably 2012. And so for anyone who was in the military at that time, you would know that was one of the slowest promoting jobs in the Marine Corps at the time. And I got promoted to sergeant in like 3 years and 2 months or something like that. Really fast. And I got promoted to staff sergeant on the first day I was eligible. I got promoted to gunnery sergeant on the first day I was eligible. Like, because I did what I was supposed to do, and I was professional. I ran circles around my peers. Whatever. Not all my peers. I'm not saying certainly not in fitness. I was not the fastest runner in the world. Ever. My fastest 3-mile time ever was like a 1942 or something like that. I never got perfect. I never got within a minute of perfect. I always got my perfect score on pull-ups and crunches on the combat fitness test plenty of times. But as far as running 3 miles, look at me. Do I look like I'm built for fast running? No. Well, you can do some endurance running, but that, anyway, totally off topic. Point being, if you do well, you'll get promoted accordingly, which offers new opportunities. And number 11, whatever. Look, the financial benefits. So I'm gonna talk about this real quick. I've got other videos that really deep dive this, but everybody focuses on the base pay. It says, oh, service members don't get paid anything. I actually love that our base pay is low, and here's why. If you understand anything about taxes, your salary, your basic pay and not allowances, your basic pay gets taxed at whatever tax bracket you're in. So the lower that is, the less you pay in taxes. And so let's say you make, we're just gonna say $100,000 for ease of math. And you made $100,000 as base pay, you get taxed on $100,000. That'd be, $20,000, $30,000, depending on where the tax bracket everything splits, right? That you pay to taxes. That sucks. If, on the other hand, 50,000 of that is base pay and 50,000 of that is untaxable allowances, you only get taxed on the 50,000, which means instead of 20 to 30,000, you pay 10 to 15,000 in taxes. So your tax bracket, your tax bill just went down by half. The military is actually even better than that in most cases because your housing allowance is not taxed. So either you live in the barracks for free, or when you get that housing allowance, it's going to be untaxable income. Your benefits, like your health care, your pre-tax contributions to TSP, all that stuff, not taxed. Depending on how you contribute the TSP, your 401k money, whether it's Roth or not, but that's, again, beyond the scope of this video. Your housing, untaxed. Your healthcare, untaxed. Your dental, untaxed. Those are all allowances and benefits. Your medical, like if you go for tuition assistance, that money, untaxed. It's just paid for. Your food allowances, if you eat at the chow hall, untaxed. If you get paid the comrades or the community ration, like the stipend for it because you're married or in a billet where you're not able to go to the chow hall, that's untaxed. Anything that says allowance is untaxed. So there are for example, in my last year in the Marine Corps, I was making probably like $45,000 or $50,000 base pay. But if you factored in all of the other stuff, it was closer to 120. Like I would need to make about $120,000 to live in Oceanside, California, the exact same lifestyle that I was living in the military. But I was only getting taxed on like a little bit less than half of that income, which is, I think, amazing. I mean, if you want to just have the bigger paycheck W-2 and get taxed on all of it because you're upset about how low your paycheck works, you don't understand taxes, then like be my guest, go complain on the internet. But personally, I'd rather pay less in taxes and not show a crazy income, because that's better. All right, look, this is a longer video digging into 11 of my favorite benefits about joining the military. My summary at the beginning stands. I don't think there's a better job out of high school for anybody. I think you've got all the opportunities. They'll pay for school down the road. You get to learn who you are as a person. You get to travel and experience life. You gain some of those intangibles, the confidence, the purpose, the identity. You figure out who you are, the discipline, all that stuff. And you come out of the military, whether it's after 4 years or 20, ready to crush life. You can get the degree while you're in, you can get a degree after you're out, paid for, no student loan debt, you're gonna be able I posted a video the other day and someone was like, bought your first house at 21, must be nice, nobody can do that. Yeah, you can if you join the military. Like, straight up, the number of service members I know who bought their first or second house before they were 20, 21 is staggering. And even if you don't do it in that first few years, you'll be contributing to your 401k, because you will have read my book, which you can get for free on the website. And you'll know what you should be doing chronologically, financially. You'll be investing in the TSP. You'll be saving money for that down payment that you won't even need, but for closing costs of the VA loan. You'll be house hacking so that you're able to live for free. You're gonna get all of these benefits that most people won't get until after they get out of college, hopefully get a really good job. And then even once all that stuff's set in stone, they're gonna be focusing on paying down their student debt, whereas you don't have any. So politics aside, now I'll tell you this, I served, I was in boot camp when President Obama got elected the first time. So I served under the very tail end of Bush, and then President Obama, President Trump, President Biden. From the military standpoint, not a huge difference. Now, are there differences as far as like whether we're deployed or not deployed or budget or not budget? Yeah, sure, but like realistically, it doesn't make as much of a difference for your life as you might think. So that's just because that one person doesn't always make all the decisions. And so, don't buy into the media hype. Focus on what's best for you. And what I always told kids when I was recruiting was this: if you're torn, just sit down. Go somewhere alone for like hours, a park, go rent a cabin on Airbnb and spend a day, whatever you gotta do to get away from other people's thoughts into what you should do with your life. Because ultimately, this should be your decision and nobody else should influence it. Get away. And if you're really torn, just ask yourself, when I'm 50 or 60 years old, is it more likely that I will regret joining the military, even if I didn't like it, or that I'll regret never having tried? Because I'll tell you, I still run into people to this day who say, I wish I'd joined the military, or thought about joining the military, or whatever. I don't know that I've ever run into anybody in person who's been like, I joined the military, I hated it, I regret it, I would never do it again. I know plenty of people who joined the military, didn't like it, right? Decided to get out after their first 4 years. That happens. That's normal with any job, even college. That's why you guys change degrees all the time. But I don't know that I've ever met somebody, well, unless they got like a bad conduct discharge and, did all the things I said at the beginning, like don't get a DUI and, smoke pot and whatever while in the military. Unless they like really messed up and got a dishonorable discharge and lost all their benefits. I've never met anybody who said they regretted joining. They may not have found it to be the best fit. They may not have been absolutely in love with every moment of their life while in the military, but they didn't regret joining. So, also I should probably say for the record, I probably should have said this at the front, I'm not in the military anymore. I have there's no benefit for me making this video other than to tell you my thoughts and what I'm gonna tell my kid when he asks me if he should join the military, right? I think it's a great option. There are other great options. I think this is a great option. So, again, make your own decision. Don't let other people sway you. And to drive that point home, I would just say this. I may, if I get the balls, I may link it in this video. The very first Facebook story or post that I read, so way back in the day, you could make blog posts on Facebook. I don't even remember what they were called. Maybe it was just post. The very first one of those that I ever made, and I'll go find it on my Facebook page and read through it and decide if I actually want to share it here or not. Because I probably will. I should. So if you see this, you get this far in the video and it's not in the show notes, comment, remind me, and nudge me, and I'll go pull it out of my Facebook. I wrote a full article basically explaining why I was joining the military and essentially denouncing all the people who were trying to influence me not to do it. And I'll tell you, if you say you're joining the military, there are so many people who are going to try to convince you otherwise, whether it's because that's not the path they chose, or because they heard all the scary things, or just because they believe the nonsense that if you don't go to college right away, you won't be successful, which frankly, unless you're getting a really specific skill set, is bullshit. I'll post that. I'll let you guys read it because I went through it and it sucked. And I got me pissed off enough to write an article about it where I was like, fuck you guys if you don't like this. And so just know, it's gotta be your decision. I will never regret having joined the military. I do not regret it. It was the best thing I ever did. It is the best thing most people I know who joined the military have ever done. So, long video, got a little emotional there at the end. Make your decision, do you. Make sure you're proud of what your decision you made down the road. And if you got something out of this, like, subscribe, stupid bell, whatever YouTubers are supposed to say to get your attention. Thanks.